Hey there guys, it's Metro and today we are back. This time we're going to be taking a look at Atal'Dazar plus 10 and we're going to be starting a new series of videos which some frequent viewers and friends of mine have recommended that I do, where I make more like a structured discussion, kind of like a guide, not necessarily a guide per se, but kind of like a structured discussion on things that happen in especially peculiar dungeon runs that we might have going on either on stream or even off stream like this one. And yeah, this is the first 10 I had ever done. I did no 10s on the beta. So we're going to talk about where Infested was a problem, where some danger came into the dungeon itself, and hopefully we could all learn from this. So this is kind of a work in progress. If anybody has any ideas, things that they might want to see, or even while you're watching a stream, you saw something that happened in a dungeon that you wanted clarification on, let me know, and I can make videos like this. This is the goal, and really the idea was, because viewers are like, you do these keys so effortlessly and you do them the same way all the time, and I don't really understand why, what the thought process is in some of these situations. So we're going to try to think a little bit more, and we're going to try to teach a little bit more, whereas in the past I normally would have just wrote it off as saying, it's just muscle memory. So anyway, first thing you'll notice here is that we skipped I cut out, that is, Dazar. I didn't actually cut it out. I forgot to record it. But anyway, you don't need to worry about that. So we're starting on the right side. We've already killed, or not Dazar, obviously, Razan. The first boss is Razan. We killed him first. So just real quick warning, you should go there first, okay? I do think that this is the right route for the dungeon. You go down. I went up and picked up the big, I grabbed the mind control, which, I currently have in the video right now. I grabbed the mind control. We went down to Razan. We lusted. Or I keep saying Razan, but, that is as it actually is named. Dazar is what I kept saying otherwise. Anyway, so grab the mind control, go down, and you already got, some decent mob count, and then you come up the right side. Now, I've seen a lot of people go up the left side. And I don't know. I haven't done it, but it just doesn't seem like it would be very successful to me. I don't feel like it would work very well. The mobs on the left side are very dangerous, and the mobs on the right side can be dangerous too, but Death Knight can actually mind control them. So this is one thing that we definitely got to talk about. If you guys, for some reason, aren't aware of this, these undead mobs here can be mind controlled, and this is extremely important. Now, what we're actually doing right now is we're looking for the stealth mob. So we're not going to upgrade this key, right? I mean, it was possible, but realistically, it was never in the plan. This is actually a Pug's key. The warrior in our group is not somebody we know. The other 4 of us are in Discord, so we're not ready yet to start pugging tents and stuff, but that'll come in time. But so anyway, you got to make sure you grab these stealth here. That's a big mistake a lot of people make, even on lower keys. They go right to the big pack, and then the stealth mobs come, and that is that. Especially with like any affix like sanguine or bolstering. Any real fortified key, you're not going to want to make that mistake. Now you can see them with a demon hunter. I think that's probably the only. I guess hunter flare can do the same thing. Or you can just kind of assume their position. They're either going to be in the middle of the stairs, or they're going to pat all the way up to kind of where the bridge with the sanguine on it, you could see in the top left of the well, now you can't, but anyway, you could have seen it there. That's kind of where they'll end. So if you walk up and they don't aggro, put a D&D down in the middle of the bridge and you'll probably get them. If not, that means they're almost near you. So if you don't have a demon hunter or a hunter for flare or something like that, then you don't have a lot of options. Now, one thing I really want to point out here, Infested in this dungeon is absolutely insane, okay? And some of these packs are made a lot harder because of it. But this is one of the hardest packs outright. It's without question one of the hardest packs in any Mythic Plus. And you can't skip it. Even if you went left, you still have to come and deal with this pack. So we use a lot of CC, as you see. All right, and obviously you see the Infested. It's going to become a problem in this dungeon. But CCing, I think, for now is kind of the best way to deal with both Infested and any type of danger you might have at all in a Mythic Plus. So don't be discouraged. Don't think you can just pull and survive, especially when you're under geared. You got to remember what power we had at the beginning of this expansion, or of the beginning of the end of Legion, I mean to say, and what power we lost coming into this expansion. So you're not, especially as a tank, you're not just be able to go in guns blazing and survive, 4 to 5 fortified mobs on a 10, or higher. So you want to think about that. But, as Death Knight, you really want to be CCing this mob. Not only does it make the pack a lot easier, but it actually substantially makes the the damage that you do higher. It's a very big DPS increase. It's good for many things. So as you adequately have been given time to look at now, the totems are infested, okay? And yeah, that's very interesting. I don't know what to say about that. This is the first infested dungeon I had ever done, so I'm very interested in talking about this. But typically, you'd expect the pack. So when I think about infested, right? When I sit here and say infested, what's it going to do? It's going to make the packs require CC. That's my idea, right? But often, we've done 2 dungeons with infested now. It's often on mobs that you just can't really CC, or even if you could, there's not enough room to pull the mobs back. So I think this fix is going to be a lot more difficult than I expected. And we're going to see that as we continue on in this dungeon. But anyway, so what we're doing right now is I'm marking all 3 mobs with the box or triangle, whatever. And we're going to make sure. We're just making sure. Again, we're not looking to upgrade this key. So this isn't really what you want to be doing. You don't want to be spending so much time here. But it is very important that everybody does exactly what they're supposed to do on these things. Because I've had it before. People just burst one down, and then that's that. You're done. You just wasted your burst, and the other 2 now need to be killed. The other one's getting back to full health. Like, it's just a mess. So if for some reason you're not aware, you want to be killing all 3 of these totems within about, I think it's about 5, maybe, I think it's 5 seconds. I don't think it's 10, but regardless, you want to be killing them at the exact same time if possible. So you want to have 1 damage dealer on each. Now, as the tank, what you want to do is you want to follow the boss around and interrupt him, which I'm not doing because I'm shit, as you see. You just got full 3 cast off, and that is really bad. You see the damage we're taking is a ton, and it's almost going to cause a wipe here. So that's really bad on my part. You do not want to be making that mistake as a tank. But otherwise, as a tank, you could help damage whichever one is, in trouble. Like if, you have a spec that's not very bursty or not consistent damage, something like that, and one is way ahead, then you can go and help with that. You can go damage that. Especially as a Blood DK, you do some pretty good bursts. A couple Blood Boils and a Death Strike, you're gonna catch that thing up real quick. So you got to make use of your time there, and it's gonna help a lot for sure. After that, this boss really doesn't do anything. I mean, he hits pretty hard physically, but as long as you interrupt, you always want to interrupt. This is your job, all right? The tank, other people are gonna interrupt, whatever. But as a tank, you really want to be interrupting as often as possible here, okay? The less mental thought that the DPS have to put in, especially on bosses, the better. And it's, every time you can interrupt it. Your CD is up way in advance, as you see, so that's good. But, as you see with the weak ore, other people are also interrupting, so whatever. Might as well, if other people are establishing their interest in doing so, you might as well. But, anyway, so that boss, not too bad. The trash leading up to him, very dangerous. I would say, just pull small if you can't. If not, you really want to have at least, Dancing Rune Weapon, something big up for every pack to try to get through it quicker. But early on, you're just going to struggle. So here's the quintessential. This is what I expected. Let's put it this way. Plenty of room to pull back. CC readily available. This is how you deal with infested. You got a caster up there that's infested, whatever. These mobs are a pain anyway because they're going to put up these big shields. You could stun the shield, by the way. That skeleton, you can't grip out of it, unfortunately. The skeleton mob he's got the shield bearer, whatever. He's going to put like this big blue absorb up. If the mobs are in that, they're not taking very much damage at all. You can only stun him, disorient him. Any type of displacement is not going to prevent him from casting it. So knockbacks, blah, 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 that grips, they will not stop him. But anyway, we CC 2 out of the 4. Just to be safe, like I said, we're not really sure. And I, like an idiot, I grip way too early. So now somehow the mob has broken the CC. So this is kind of like, things are failing. But we luckily get another route. And it looks like the problem is solved. But regardless, in case you're not aware, if you're close to infested, the mob's going to heal. Now, it doesn't actually heal for that much. Compared to Sanguine, I mean, it heals for a lot. Let me put it this way. I thought that you wouldn't even be able to do damage to the mobs, but there was times when we were fighting infested packs, especially in the other dungeon we did, where with burst, like people were doing big burst, and the mobs were actually dying, even though a mob was in there infested. So it's interesting, but it's not really a viable option. I don't feel like that's not really what the game is asking you to do. But here you go. Look at this. They could run anywhere. This is another tip I want to give you guys. They could run anywhere. I guess what they're supposed to be doing is running to the closest mob. That doesn't always seem to be the case, because I don't understand how some of these dungeons we've done have gone to the closest mob. But regardless, they could run anywhere. So you got to be careful. Really good tip for Blood DK. Obviously grips, obviously stuns, gore fiends. These things are going to help. But putting down the death and decay slow, taking that talent can be huge. Another tip, they don't seem to spawn immediately. Watch, I think you might notice it here. We're going to kill this mob, and it takes like, well, it's sped up a little bit, but yeah, okay, so there you go. So we made a mistake. So look at, this is actually really interesting. So the mind control mob gets infested. Look at this. So I had lost the mind control, the mob died, infested spawned, and now my mind control mob is infested. So first of all, I don't know if I could have mind controlled the mob as it was infested. It feels like a bug. But I'm like, yo, this is overpowered. The mob is going to heal us. It does not heal us, long story short. It heals the group. As you see, we're actually not able to kill this pack. Look at that. But see, some of the fodder is actually dying, right? So even with infested, you can kill something. We do actually kill a mob there, so it's very odd. But anyway, that's it. We're done. That mob is now infested, and I can no longer mind control it. So these are things you want to keep in mind. Infested is quite peculiar. In fact, now that mob is not infested anymore. I don't know what's going on here. There's a couple weird things that we noticed. One, like I said, the fact that these totems can be infested. And the funny thing about this is that Blizzard explicitly said, we did this by hand. This is not random. And I don't know the quote, so I'm not going to say it. But they made some kind of like assurance that it wouldn't be bizarre. It's bizarre. It is. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to rewatch what was said about that, because my impression was it's like we did this on purpose, so it's not going to be ridiculous. And there's some ridiculous stuff happening already. So I think they probably do want it to be ridiculous, but for the reasons that we might not think are ridiculous. Maybe, because it adds a lot of challenge to the dungeon when a neutral mob, a mob that has like 5 health is infested, right? You don't want that to be infested. It's going to get one shot. You know what I mean? You have to actually be very, very careful for it not to get one shot. You know, these are very odd problems. And like the totem situation as well. In here, these totems being infested, this means some problems. You know what I mean? You have to pull them way back so you don't kill those totems by accident. So here we're going to go left. So at this point, we've given up on that infested mob, which is very bad. It's a mistake. I make a big mistake here. If you guys have done this dungeon already on 5, you know that the count is peculiar. If you skip one of the sides, you're not going to have count. You're going to have to pull a couple extra mobs. So we're already considering when and where that's going to happen. Now, we'll talk about it at the end of the video. But long story short, what I should have had done is had that mob mind control for the entire dungeon, do exactly what I do in the video, and then we get to the boss and we kill that mob we kill the boss with the mob. Obviously helps my DPS, and then release the mob and kill it, and that is perfect count. Literally % perfect count. So that's what you should do. So we'll hopefully talk about that as we progress. But regardless, these fodder packs, again, complicated by infested, have to CC. If not, that mob is going to just get killed way too quick, and there's no way we're going to stop it. So, I've seen a lot of people on the beta, they don't CC on the beta. They're doing 10s on the beta, and they're not CCing. They're just letting the infested kind of do it at once. But I don't know, especially with Sanguine. Look at that. So, and the mobs will aggro too. So if that mob ran over to that, that pack there, and it infested it, it aggroes it. So that's a wipe. You know what I mean? This is a very dangerous fix. This is a fix that is pervasive to every point in the dungeon's difficulty. Everything is made harder by this fix. So I can't even imagine what it's going to be like pugging these. I really don't know. I'm scared for it, honestly, and I don't know what it's. There's some dungeons which I think will be easier, and obviously Sanguine and Necrotic. This has been a really tough week, guys. I don't know how many dungeons you guys have done, but man, Sanguine and Necrotic, they're bad. Some of these dungeons are so difficult with Sanguine. It's unbelievable. And I can't imagine like pugging this. Without voice is more what I'm saying. Doing these without vocal communication is just going to be, I think it's going to be very, very, very difficult. I think the goal of this expansion was to make 5-man content more difficult, and I think they definitely succeeded with that. But anyway, so this pack here, whatever, no big deal. 4 non-infested mobs, 2 of them are casters. For me, I like killing the casters first. As Blood DK, we have pretty good magic, ways to deal with magic, but there's no reason to risk it, especially on necrotic. We just want to get AMS's used for necrotic and just as kind of like a safety net, you know? I wouldn't recommend constantly using it on trash, especially on necrotic, just because you never know when you need it, right? Like right now. Obviously, I'm getting my ass kicked. Necrotic is just so nuts, and I don't have the proper setup to deal with it. So I would recommend killing the casters in this pack, and they're kind of a taste of things to come. Some of these mobs up on this side of the room can be very difficult. Very dangerous. The other side, now we're going to the boss, the gold boss, whatever, the chick who's covered in gold. The other side, the trash can be very dangerous too, but for different reasons. There's not a lot of dangerous like casted mechanics that you need to worry about the overlap of. There, it's just raw damage, dealing with the puddles on the ground from that, the green poison stuff, and whatever else might come with that, But for now, we're dealing with very dangerous mob types that are all combined in a way that can make them even harder. Now, luckily, I think, again, this is another quintessential example of Infested. This is exactly when I think of Infested, this is exactly what I think of. A big pack, a single infested mob, just CC it, move the mobs back. Plenty of room to fight these mobs. You'll also note that both of the priestesses on the sides are infested, which, again, that's quintessential. There's only one mob, not really going to have to deal with it. It's kind of just not a mechanic when it's dealt with in that way. So I quite like that. I feel like, that's what I expected. But as you just saw there, even though the mob is CC'd, it still is being like the fiery enchant mechanic happens. So if you're not aware, basically, long story short, all the mobs on this side, I actually covered it heavily on the beta. If you really want to hear a lot more about this, then you should check it out on my Atal'Dazar video on the beta. But all these mobs basically have some kind of interaction with each other. Not every single one, I don't think, but like 3 out of the 5 different types up here could interact with each other. One does like a fire enhancement, then that guy's with the fire enhancement, he whirlwinds, and then there's another mob that puts like this big shield up, but we're not actually seeing that shield type in this pack, luckily. But as you see, things are out of control, absolutely out of control. Infested is broken, and we're now pretty much unable to complete the pack. So that's going to be a wipe. And it's a wipe because I handled necrotic very poorly, but also a wipe because, we didn't handle our business very well. We did not interrupt. We did not CC at the right times. We did not stun, blah, blah, blah. And these are things that are going to be happening in pugs all the time. I mean, think about this. And this is in Discord. You can't hear the voice. You can't hear what we're saying. But, think about what we're talking about. Like normal people were like, all right, CC, stun, blah, blah, blah. But, you can't do this quickly in a pug. What are you going to say? I can't type this kind of stuff out. So these are things that we, as a community have to learn and accept are important parts of the dungeon. You can't just, assume that nobody is ever going to CC Infested. I've seen a lot of people talk about it. They're like, oh, just bring a sub-rogue. You just kill the infested mob real quick, and then that's that. It's like, okay, well, that's not always going to happen. And the bigger problem is some of these dungeons, you're not going to be able to pull the mobs back. That's the thing I'm really concerned with. I really don't know what might happen in some of these dungeons. Like I'm thinking about Toldagor, Waycrest Manor. Pretty much every dungeon has areas where it's very difficult to actually control Infested. And if you don't have enough area, if you don't have enough area to work with, especially with Sanguine, I think this might be one of the hardest weeks. Just going back to that real quick. I think Sanguine this week is not like, I don't know. If they did this on purpose, congrats to Blizzard. You made one of the hardest weeks possible at the first week because people are not prepared for these dungeons, first of all. They don't know the routes. They don't know the trash. They don't know the count, and that makes Sanguine harder. If you did any of the Legion dungeons, you would know that by the end, people were doing Sanguine in such a way that they knew everything about every mob type and they knew exactly when and where to play Sanguine. And it was just a joke. Like, you know what I mean? People dealt with it in such a way that it was not a mechanic by the end. And it made it very easy for everybody in the group. That's not the case right now, obviously. So, it's pretty difficult. I think this is probably one of the harder ways that we could have started it. I think maybe only like Grievous or something like that could have been harder. But regardless, you have to make sure you deal with necrotic. And obviously, Infested is going to mean that you're going to be able to kite. You're going to want to kite when oftentimes you can't, because of all 3 of these affixes combined. Now, anyway, so here's an important part here. I pull these mobs to the left. And again, another fiery enhancement. You want to make sure that mob is interrupted right there. That is a very, very dangerous mob when it's paired with any other type of mob. and well, when it's paired specifically with this type of mob. Now we're pulling these for count purely. Typically, I would have pulled 3 together, these 2 and the Priestess, but the Priestess has Infest on it, so we couldn't do that, right? There's no point in that, obviously. But if it wasn't a 10, or if that mob wasn't infested, I would have pulled these 3 together. That's the pack that I think you want to do. You come up, do the big pack, then get these 3 together, then solo the normal mob, and then you got the boss. So I would pop my CDs on the big pack, come kill these 3, then kill the solo, and then the boss. By that time, Dancing Rune Weapon's back up. You know, major CDs are back up. That's what you got to start thinking about. Maximizing your CDs. You want to basically... If every 2 minutes you can pull very big, that's what you would want to do as a Blood DK. Because with Dancing Rune Weapon, Bone Storm, Icebound Fortitude, and Vampiric Blood, I don't, like, if you rotated those properly, I'm not sure how you would die. I really don't know. People come in the stream all the time saying, you know, what should I do? I'm fighting 5 mobs and getting my ass kicked. It's like, I don't know. Like, use the CDs. I don't know what to tell you. They're so powerful. Dancing Rune Weapon and Bone Storm are just get out of jail free cards. And obviously Vamp Blood is just so, there's so much value to it. Like, so you want to make sure that you're maximizing these CDs. They're not going to have a lot of effect on bosses in a lot of ways. So it's not always about bosses. You know what I mean? Like Vamp Blood, I don't know, unless it's a high tyrannical, you're probably not going to have a lot of trouble staying alive as a Blood DK on bosses. Any one target is not going to be very difficult, especially with a specific talent build. But with Bone Storm, especially on AoE, if you use it right, you should never die on AoE. So those things are important, you know? And now, obviously, we're going into the boss. You see we have all CDs up. And this boss is, yeah, nothing special. You really want to just make sure that you're tanking her on top of the throne. This is a mistake I made a lot of times, actually, on live stream, too. People were talking about it. But, yeah, you want to tank her on top of the throne when you can, because this ad definitely needs to die, and the quicker the people in the group can get a jump on that, the better. As a tank, I like to get my blood quick. It does last for 15 seconds, so that's pretty useful. You want to make sure that you're not baiting. So this happens all the time, right? We do the fight, and all 5 people try to get it at the last second, and then all 5 of us run to 1, and then 4 of us don't get it. So not good, obviously. And then again, you could slow, you could stun, you could root these mobs. So you want to do that. AoE grip them, regular grip them, anything like that. Anything you can do to stop these mobs from getting these pulls, the better. And obviously, if you have Blood Drinker, you want to be saving Blood Drinker for that mob. It's going to be probably the best value you can get. Save your DPS some downtime on that mob. So look at that. Me and him both run to the same one. I don't have one. By the time I even get to that one, it would have been too late. So whatever. I just healed the boss. But this is imperative. This is the fastest way to kill the boss, by the way. If you guys aren't aware, the fastest way to kill the boss is to be using all 5 of these blood puddles. But look at that. Sometimes you're not going to be able to do that, you know? We don't have good CC rotation at that point. Mob gets to one of them, and that's that. The other option there, which is a very good option, is if the mob is tracking a pool, have somebody go and get the pool. Because it's probably not going to be wasted unless it's like somehow, I don't know. Like I said, it lasts 15 seconds, and people were saying in stream that, you know, you get them as the second they spawn, they'll be up for a part of the cast. So yeah, if that's the case, then go do that quick, and the mob becomes trivial, I guess, at that point. But okay, so now at this point, we're like, again, I'm making a very stupid mistake. I'm kind of like panicking. I'm like, we need mob count. Where are we going to get it? But I'm an idiot because I forgot that the mind control mob is still alive, and there's still a Pterodax on the pillar. Oh, and now I'm standing in the fire with, Jesus Christ. All right, not a great dungeon for me. But anyway, good thing, because we actually probably should die there, so we can go to the right and get the mind control mob. But we're not going to do that. We're going to do something even dumber. Anyway, so typically, yeah, if you watch me do this on stream, it's a lot easier to show off. But basically, we're wasting a ton of time getting these mobs. We're spending more time than we have to on count right now. We're wasting our time. But regardless, if you follow you know, the typical route, you go Razan first, then right, and then there's a pack in the middle that you would get typically. You would probably skip one or the other. So let me explain what happened here. The reason we don't have count is because we died. So we came out of the right side. Try to visualize this. We came out of the right side. We went down into the middle, like cross section area, right? There's 2 packs there. We wiped after the first one because of Infested. We never went back for the second pack. I forget about this in the video. I don't know that we skipped this. I'm freaking out. Like, why don't we have count? I had done this a couple times, and I was sure that we should have count by this point. So I'm freaking out. I'm like, why the why don't we have count? What have we done wrong? Did they change count? Am I, blah, blah, blah. So we're fighting all these mobs that have there's no reason to be fighting them. What we should have done is not wipe, then kill the second pack, come across, so it's like a T shape, right? The front of the T shape has a mob 2 that you might have skipped on the way down to Razan. Get him. So, get 3 of these packs, then go left, get those 2. These are the packs with the birds and the dinosaur that fears, right? And again, I should be mind controlling this. We should be killing it after the fight. Using it for the fight is extremely important. It's just free damage. It does a lot of damage. So this is, again, not what you want to do. Do not do this. If you're in this situation, mind control this mob and keep it for the fight. It's going to increase your damage substantially. It would have made the fight a lot easier. Then afterwards, kill it and you'll have exact count if you follow what I'm talking about. So you got to get all of the packs with the dinosaur and that fears, and then like the little guys that run around. Okay, I know, not great with names, but hopefully you understand what I'm talking about. And then obviously skip that giant pack of dinosaurs with the name mob in the middle. You don't want to pull that. I'm surprised they didn't make that a mandatory part, because nobody is ever going to fight that pack, literally ever. And I'm but so you see it there. I'm walking by it now. Look at my characters, like, oh, like we should have pulled that, right? That's what we should have gone for. But anyway, we have count now. We're going to the final boss. Final boss, I think, is one of the hardest in the entire game. And there's a dinosaur up there, to whatever, the flying dinosaur thing. We could have pulled that too instead of the dumb stuff that we pulled. So anyway, we're going up to the final boss. I think it's one of the hardest bosses in the game. Requires serious coordination and very good damage. And these spiders are a precursor to that. People take a lot of damage from these spiders on the way up there. And like, look at that. Those 2 guys got hit pretty hard, man. I'm talking about pretty hard. So anyway, what we're suggesting is to stack everything up. I'm not sure how other people are doing this. This is how I've done it, and I've had great success with it. Stacking everything together like that, and then AoEing it down. And you could also really help with this as a Death Knight. You could Gorfiends them together if for some reason it doesn't work the way you might think it does. It's very easy to do that. And you could also slow them with the D&D talent. So that could be very, very, very useful depending on your comp. Now, most comps are going to have some type of good AoE burst DPS. You're not really going to need to interact with them much. But they do get out of control quickly if they get out of their original position. And don't forget, when they die, they drop another puddle. So it'd be ideal if they all died as soon as they spawned and never moved. And that's what you're going to see here in this group. They die very, very quickly. And, very small amount of collateral, let's put it that way, because of that. So that's perfect. Anyway, that's it. The fight is very intensive on the tank, I would say. The skewer hits very hard, as you see, even with the current situation I have. Hits pretty difficult. And yeah, obviously the cast. You want to interrupt every time. Again, the damage dealers, they should never have to interrupt. Every single time it's up, your CD as a blood DK should be up as well. So just interrupt that every time, racking pain, and otherwise contribute. Like you see, I'm throwing D&D down just to help damage and all that, and that will obviously make the fight a little bit easier for them. And then of course you're going to have to deal with the spiders. They're going to be coming. If at any point the boss is covered in purple, just move it. Don't be stupid. Sometimes I'm stubborn. It's like, oh, the DPS stood in that, so now they have to suffer. Just move the boss. As long as you're in this area here, you've maximized the amount of space you have for these mechanics to be kited. Now, this is actually pretty difficult with Sanguine, as you see, or with Necrotic. Necrotic is stacking up. Boss is hitting hard already. People are getting killed. It's not good. People are getting hit by spiders. The spiders do way too much damage to be hit by it, but it's actually not that big of a deal because now there's only 4 ads. One good thing about this fight, I'm going to tell you guys this right now. If you're the only person on this fight is a complete joke. It can't do anything, and it's going to still try to do stuff. That's the funny part. She's going to try to cast her abilities. She can't, I'm pretty sure she can't, I guess she probably could still cast Racking Pain, but you just interrupt it. Skewer is the only mechanic on the fight. She's not going to be able to summon, there's only going to be 1 spider or something. It's like a very, very, very small amount. Like there's nothing to worry about. And she can't do the Soul Rend mechanic. She's going to still cast it, but it's not going to happen. So if at any point you're at this fight alone, you could kill this fight. Probably any tank could kill this fight, honestly. But as you see, getting hit real hard here, falling way behind. Shaman's struggling to keep up. Obviously not the best throughput from a Shaman in a 5-man, but luckily Spirit Link saves the day. So that's pretty much everything. So little yeah, we're gonna work on this format. If you guys have anything that you wanna see from this format, let me know. But again, the goals here are to try to tell you everything that's happening in the dungeon, to try to give you guys a better understanding of why I'm pulling, how I'm pulling, where the danger came in. And yeah, most of it's going to apply to tanks, but you know, I'll try my best. If you guys think there's something I could improve on with damage, you know, talking about damage, talking about healing, let me know. Please leave comments down below. I'll be happy to discuss this. I'm very excited for Mythic Plus. I've already had a ton of fun this week, and the future's bright, guys. So thanks for watching. We will see you guys in the next video.